There comes a moment in a man's life when he forgets to measure himself by the mirror. Not because he no longer cares, but because he assumes that attractiveness is something that fades instead of something that evolves. Yet what if the opposite is true? What if the very things you think have made you less noticeable are, in fact, the things that have made you far more compelling? When a man reaches a certain stage in life, his attractiveness begins to shift from something that is performed to something that is felt, and this often happens quietly, almost without his awareness. Maturity carries a kind of calm that cannot be faked because it is born from years of navigating challenges, disappointments, victories, and lessons that shape the emotional landscape of who he has become. This calm becomes magnetic, not because it is loud or demanding, but because it allows others to breathe more easily in his presence. People sense stability in the way he walks into a room, in how he listens before responding, in how he does not rush to fill silence or prove his worth. The steadiness he brings is a kind of emotional anchor that many find deeply attractive, even if he does not see it himself. What often happens is that an older man becomes so accustomed to carrying responsibility and solving problems that he forgets the quiet charisma this creates. He has been the one to hold things together for so long that he underestimates the impact of that strength. Others, however, feel it immediately. It shows up in subtle ways, someone confiding in him more easily, a stranger relaxing in conversation, a colleague seeking his guidance without hesitation. These are not accidents. They are reflections of the inner solidity that comes with maturity. People are drawn to those who feel grounded because grounded people make the world feel a little less chaotic. There is also an elegance in the way he handles emotional tension. Rather than reacting impulsively, he observes. Rather than escalating conflict, he diffuses it. This emotional regulation is not only a sign of growth but an attractive quality that many do not encounter often enough. In a world full of noise and uncertainty, the man who brings calm becomes a refuge. This is not about dominance or control, it is about presence. A mature presence communicates, without a single word, that everything will be okay, that there is space to exhale. And perhaps the most compelling part is that he does not realize he is projecting any of this. He might think he is simply minding his own business, moving through life as he always has. But the calm he carries is noticeable, energetic, almost atmospheric. It signals emotional safety, and emotional safety is deeply attractive. People are instinctively drawn to what makes them feel understood, steadied, and at ease, and that is the gift maturity offers him, an invisible, magnetic calm that others consistently feel even when he does not recognize it himself. As a man grows older, something subtle but profound begins to shift in the way he relates to himself and the world around him. When he was younger, confidence might have felt like something he had to construct, maintain, or perform, an image to uphold, a mask to adjust, a role to play. But with time, life has a way of stripping away the unnecessary layers. Experiences clarify what matters and what doesn't. Failures stop feeling like personal verdicts and begin to feel like teachers. Success stops being about applause and becomes more about alignment. And through all of this, confidence transforms from something external into something deeply internal, rooted not in approval but in self-knowledge. This kind of confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to be proven. It shows up in the way he makes decisions without second-guessing himself endlessly, and in the way he chooses authenticity over performance. It shows up when he no longer wastes time pretending to be someone he's not, because he has finally learned to value the man he has become. There is a different weight to this kind of self-assurance. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. Others feel it immediately, even when he doesn't consciously project it. It's in his posture, his eye contact, his ability to stay present instead of chasing validation. What makes this especially attractive is that it creates a kind of emotional clarity. People can sense when a man knows himself. They sense it in how he handles rejection, in how he speaks his truth without trying to control how it's received, in how he no longer manipulates his identity to fit expectations. This self-knowledge becomes a signal. Here is someone who is steady within himself, someone who has examined his own desires and fears, someone who doesn't collapse at the first sign of uncertainty. And that steadiness draws others in. It makes them feel secure, not because he is perfect, but because he is grounded. There is also something refreshing about the lack of pretense. When he engages with others, it's not to impress but to connect. When he expresses interest, it's sincere. When he sets boundaries, it's respectful rather than defensive. This authenticity creates an intimacy that many people crave in a world full of superficial interactions. It opens the door for deeper conversations, deeper trust, deeper attraction. People are drawn to the man who is not performing but simply being. They are drawn to the ease he carries, the honesty in his presence, the confidence that comes from knowing his worth without needing anyone to validate it. And this is the quiet irony. The very moment he stops trying to be impressive is often the moment he becomes the most attractive. With time, a man develops a different relationship with his own presence, and this evolves into a form of emotional depth that younger versions of himself could not yet access. This depth isn't something he consciously cultivates, it emerges from lived experience, losses he has grieved, relationships he has nurtured or let go of, disappointments he has survived, and truths he has come to understand through witnessing life unfold in all its complexity. These moments layer themselves quietly within him, shaping the way he observes the world, the way he listens, and the way he responds. Others sense this, often before he does. There is a richness to his attention, a grounded quality to his presence that makes people feel seen in a way they rarely experience. When he listens with his whole being. Not just to the words being spoken, but to the pauses, the hesitations, the emotional currents beneath the surface. He pays attention because he understands that human beings are full of nuance, contradiction, and longing. He has lived enough to know that most people are not looking for advice, they are looking for resonance, understanding, affirmation that their feelings make sense. This ability to listen with depth becomes magnetic. It draws people in, especially in a world where real attention has become rare. His emotional depth also shows up in the way he responds. He doesn't rush. He doesn't react impulsively. He takes a moment, often reflecting on what he has learned throughout his life before offering a perspective. That slight pause, that thoughtful response, becomes a sign of emotional maturity. People trust men who think before they speak, not because they are cautious, but because they are considerate. His emotional vocabulary may be understated, but it is meaningful. He speaks with intention rather than volume. Another part of this depth is the permission he gives others to express their own emotions. Being in his presence feels different because he does not judge quickly. He has known enough of life's twists to understand how easily people can struggle. This creates emotional safety, which is one of the most attractive forms of intimacy. Others feel comfortable opening up, sharing stories they rarely tell, revealing thoughts they often keep hidden. They sense that he can hold their vulnerability without stepping away or turning it against them. His depth isn't dramatic or performative. It simply exists, quietly influencing every interaction. And because he does not always recognize this inner richness, he may overlook how profoundly it affects the people around him. Yet it is precisely this sincerity, this reflective nature, this emotional presence that makes him far more attractive than he realizes, drawing others not to his exterior but to the soulfulness of his attention. As a man grows older, independence begins to shape not only the way he lives but also the way others perceive him. This independence is not about isolation or detachment, it is about knowing how to stand on his own 2 feet, how to navigate life with self-direction, and how to rely on his own judgment without being swayed by every demand or expectation. People notice this quickly, often more quickly than he does. There is something undeniably attractive about a man who knows how to take care of himself, who is anchored in his own choices, and who moves through the world with a sense of purpose rather than seeking constant reassurance. This independence comes from years of learning what works for him and what doesn't, from discovering what he values and what he is no longer willing to tolerate. He has built routines, boundaries, and habits that support his well-being. He knows how to make tough decisions without collapsing under pressure, and he knows how to say no when something compromises his peace. These qualities signal strength in a quiet, steady way. They tell others that he is not easily shaken, that he does not lose himself in relationships, and that he knows how to hold his own center even in moments of uncertainty. What makes this especially attractive is the stability it offers. People feel calmer around someone who is self-reliant, because they sense he is not looking to be saved or completed. He approaches relationships with clarity rather than desperation, with curiosity rather than neediness. This creates an emotional space where the other person feels free rather than responsible for managing him. Independence becomes an invitation rather than a barrier, an assurance that he is choosing connection, not clinging to it. There is also a sense of direction in the way he moves through his life. He may have passions he pursues, responsibilities he manages, or interests that continue to evolve with time. The way he carries these priorities communicates that his life is full, not empty. He does not need someone to create meaning for him, he brings meaning with him. This sense of purpose is compelling. It sparks curiosity. It makes others want to understand what drives him, what he cares about, what he has built, and what he is still dreaming of. Perhaps the most understated part of his independence is the confidence it gives others. Being with a man who can handle his life without expecting someone else to fix it is reassuring. It allows for authentic connection because neither person is losing themselves in the other. His independence becomes a form of quiet attractiveness, signaling strength, wisdom, and a life shaped with intention rather than impulse, drawing people toward him without him needing to do anything more than continue being exactly who he has become through experience and growth over the years. A man accumulates stories, perspectives, and insights that quietly reshape the way he moves through the world. These experiences do not just influence how he thinks, they influence the energy he carries. What was once youthful eagerness evolves into something deeper and more deliberate. He no longer needs to chase attention, because he has learned that real connection is not created by volume, it's created by authenticity. This shift forms a quieter, more profound kind of charisma, one that others feel long before they can name it. This charisma is not showy or dramatic. It comes from the way he listens with genuine interest, the way he speaks with intention, and the way he holds his posture with a sense of inner steadiness. It's in the way he can be silent without seeming uncomfortable, and how he can be expressive without overwhelming the space. The life he has lived shapes this balance. He has learned from past relationships what to nurture and what to release. He has learned from work, successes, and failures what truly matters and what was merely noise. Each lesson adds a layer to him, giving him a depth that people instinctively gravitate toward. Because he no longer feels urgency to impress, his presence becomes inviting rather than imposing. Others feel safe being themselves around him because his energy does not demand attention, it welcomes it. He creates an environment where people feel permission to relax, and this makes him more attractive than he realizes. Many people have experienced charm that is loud but shallow, few encounter the gentler pull of a man who feels whole within himself. This wholeness has a way of drawing people closer without him trying to be noticed. Another part of this quieter charisma is that he has made peace with imperfection. He knows he has made mistakes, and he does not hide them behind ego. He knows he has grown, and he does not need to broadcast it. This humility, combined with self-awareness, creates an authenticity that is magnetic. People trust him because he does not pretend. They open up to him because he understands. They admire him because he moves with calm rather than chaos. What he may not see is how powerfully this authenticity stands out. In a world where so many feel pressured to perform, his grounded nature becomes a kind of emotional refuge. His presence feels like an invitation to connect on a deeper level, and that is rare. His life experiences have softened him in some ways and strengthened him in others, shaping a charisma that is understated yet undeniably compelling, attracting others not through effort but through the depth and truth of who he has become.